Chapter 32. Who am I? Elsa groaned, trying to wake up. Her body felt heavy and ached everywhere. When she opened her eyes, she could see nothing as the surroundings were too bright. She closed her eyes and this time tried opening them slowly. It was Maya who was sleeping beside her in a grand room. She could tell it was already daytime from all the hustle and bustle sounds that came from outside. Maya? Elsa stuttered, trying to get up. Her body was sore as though a boulder or something had hit her. But that's when the memory of last night flashed through Elsa's eyes. The beast was interacting with her when she suddenly lost control. She could remember nothing after that, except for the weird dream where she met Raphael. Elsa's heart fluttered and flustered as the memory of Raphael flooded her mind. She could tell how heartsick he looked. But that didn't mean she would run to him. He had inflicted a lot of pain on her, and he refused to answer clearly when she asked about Divinia. You're awake. Here, take some water. Maya handed her a glass of water. Elsa gulped down the entire glass, needing more. Maya gave her another glass of water, but this time she took it slow. What happened? She whispered. You tell me, girl. You scared the hell out of everyone, Kira groaned, walking inside the room. She was carrying a plate full of food. Elsa's stomach made a funny sound, earning a much-needed laugh from everyone. Elsa took her sweet time finishing that meal, and until she was done, no one uttered a single word. Noah and Neil had also come by. They were curious to find out more. What happened? Why are you all looking at me like that? I can see that we won the war, but how? Elsa screeched. She had a feeling she wouldn't like the answer. You remember nothing? Noah raised his brows in worry. No, and why are you behaving like this? Elsa sat up even though every muscle in her body ached. Can we talk alone? Noah looked at Maya and Kira's judging eyes. You're all scaring me, Elsa exclaimed as soon as it was only them. You transformed. Noah looked elsewhere to avoid her questioning gaze. What do you mean by transform? I would remember if I shifted. Elsa yelped, perplexed. Noah breathed in deeply. He didn't know how to break the news to Elsa. There was nothing he could compare and tell her. Only those that saw her in that state knew what happened. But luckily someone had captured a video in all the chaos, and it was doing the rounds. He wasn't sure if he wanted to show it to her, but she needed to know the truth. And there was a bleak chance she could give them more information. Elsa, you suddenly became something else. You were floating with red, blue, fiery sparks coming out of you. And then some kind of energy erupted out of you and killed all the rogues and beasts. We were worried that you would kill us, too. But then you were in some kind of trance or coma till you woke up. God, it took hours for you to cool down and for us to be able to touch you and pick you up and bring you here. You scared the shit out of me, Elsa. I thought I would lose you or something, Noah tried to explain. It was so theatrical that it sounded impossible. How could someone become this thing Noah was talking about? And, whoa, Noah told her she killed all the rogues and beasts? How was that even possible? What was he thinking of her? The moon goddess? Elsa scoffed, trying to avoid Noah's gaze. He was looking at her like she was some kind of miracle. All her life, Elsa believed deep down in her heart that she was an abomination, and it was coming out to be true. That look that Noah's eyes had for her was not soft and affectionate. It was full of sadness and questions. I am an abomination, aren't I? The beast had said to me that we're the same, so what was I expecting? Elsa burst into tears. Elsa, you're not an abomination. What we saw last night was a pure force. You're so powerful and graceful. No one could create that except for the moon goddess herself. Noah held her hand between his, trying to console her.
Why don't I remember anything?
Elsa sobbed. I don't know. Maybe you weren't prepared for it, or it was triggered out of the blue. Elsa, I promise we'll find out more. Noah appeased her.
You're right. We have to find Anthony. He's after us. We cannot let him destroy more packs because of me.
Elsa shrugged. We will when you heal. Can you feel anything odd, like unnatural? Noah urged.
No. Ayla is worn out, but that's all.
Elsa snubbed. Do you want to see it? Someone recorded it, Noah adjured.
Yes.
Elsa bit her lip in anticipation. Elsa was nervous. All this was too much information for her to process. But a part of her still believed all this was untrue or some dream. Noah took out his phone and played the video. It was her, but it was also not her. Elsa had these sparkling eyes and a ring around her pupils that changed colors from blue to red too many times. The sparks were flying everywhere, and it made her look like some kind of phoenix or fairy or witch minus the wings. But she was none of them. Her hair was blowing away, making her look like some omnipotent being. Who was she even?
Who am I?
Elsa wailed as a teardrop escaped her eyes. Your mate looks like Ida? Lucian asked for the umpteenth time. I have told you, Lucian, I'm not sure. When I'd seen her in the Red Moon Pack, she had this amber hair like Ida. But last night, when we met in this alternate world, or that dream sequence, she had these silver hairs and eyes. She was wearing a white dress like Ida in the portrait. Elsa's eyes and sharp facial features are too much of a resemblance, but I can't tell you anything for certain, Raphael howled. Raphael was also having a hard time believing any of it, but the picture was right in front of him. It was hard to ignore. I can't help but wonder if we are somehow related to your mate. We're descendants of purebloods if history and our archives are indeed correct. And you say she looks like Ida? How exactly? And how did she end up in Red Moon Pack? Lucian had several questions, but that was all he could ask. She has a pale complexion and silver eyes, but her hair is also silver, unlike Ida's amber hairs. When Elsa had colored her hair, the resemblance was uncanny. I don't know how she ended up in Red Moon territory. Did your pack lose some of its members in the last war? Do you have any records? Raphael asked vehemently, sitting on the sofa finally. Who was Elsa? How could he let her go like that? If she was a pureblood, then probably these rogues and beasts were looking for her. And God only knew why. Also, the last time he connected to Elsa, she was definitely in the middle of some battle. Was she safe? She had something weird going on around her. The more he thought, the more he wanted to rush to her aid. My father was the Alpha then, but I know we lost very few pack members. The war never reached our land, so there were very few casualties. Some of our patrollers went too far to monitor the intruders, but I can assure you all our children were safe. Lucian shunned the possibility of losing one of their own that resembled Ida. Are you sure? Raphael felt the need to ask again. Do you doubt our ability to protect our own? We would never abandon one of us, Lucian rebuffed. You would exile them for the smallest error, Raphael scoffed. Every pack has its rules, Raphael, so let's not go there, Lucian warned. Raphael just scorned and ignored it. I can tell you my mate does not belong to any other pack of Moonlit City. Silverlets were the only aloof ones, so no one could guess that she resembled one of you. So if you are so certain that your pack didn't abandon my mate in that bloody war, then I cannot fathom a reason why she would be in the middle of it. Raphael mumbled. This time he was speaking to himself more than Lucian. Raphael, I promise I will try to find out more, but you must hurry and find your mate. You have a lot of repentance to do, and I am not indeed sure she would want to take you back. But you have to protect her. The moon goddess paired you with her for some reason. Lucian cringed. I know, and thank you. If Elsa is what we think she is, then it shouldn't go out of this room, Raphael requested. It won't. But will you tell Jander and Davinia? Lucian queried. He was skeptical about Davinia, but now was not the time for him to say that aloud. No, not until I know more. Jander and Davinia already have so much on their plates that they need to take care of in my absence. I don't want to put on any more pressure. I'm worried that the rogues and beasts are after Elsa. If they even get a hint of this, the entire pack will panic in my absence, Raphael conceded. It felt nice to have someone with whom he could share what he felt. If Elsa had any reflection with the Silverlets, by any means, it would only make the bond between these two packs stronger. Lucian, please take care of the city in my absence, Raphael asked, his voice cracking in between his plea. He wasn't sure how long he had to go, but he could look for Elsa more freely if he knew the city was in safe hands of someone capable like Lucian. I promise. Go get your Luna, Lucian promised. Raphael had to link Jander to get his things and meet him near the city border. He didn't want to keep secrets from his best friend, but it was the best thing to do. Once he was all set, he left for the Opals. But he'd only crossed the border and gone a few miles when he could feel those crappy feelings that he had sensed last time. He knew right away that something was off and he needed to go back to warn his people. But suddenly the air became thick and the surrounding was foggy. It was eerie, and Raphael knew he must return quickly. He was about to take a U-turn when a figure appeared in front of his car. Raphael could swear no one was there a second before, but he could have missed him. But it was already too late when he realized the person's presence. He hit the figure too hard with his car, and the man tumbled over it. There was a low chance of the person's survival, but when he looked in the mirror, he could see the man whimpering in pain. There was no way he could leave the man, despite Jera's apprehensions. Raphael got out of the car to help the injured man. He hoped it was some wolf so that his chances of survival would be better. The man was writhing in pain, crying for help. Raphael fell to his knees to help the man. He was covered in blood and was having a hard time breathing. He hissed and tried to pick up the man, but the man cried in pain. Sir, it's going to hurt a lot, but we have to get you into the car so that I can get you to the hospital, Raphael gulped. He didn't want to be a murderer of an innocent person. It was a pang of guilt he could not shoulder. The man groaned but agreed. Raphael tried to be as gentle as possible, but the man kept whimpering in pain. He put the wounded man in the back seat of his car and moved to the driver's seat. He had to hurry, otherwise this man would die. Raphael had only started the engine when he felt a burn on his neck. It was from silver coated with wolfsbane. The wounded man was sitting with a malicious grin on his face. His blood still covered his body, but there was no sign of pain or hurt. It didn't take Raphael long to realize that the man had staged the accident. Raphael sighed in desperation. He drove his car and changed the direction, following the man's finger. The man had just kidnapped Raphael. Chapter 33. The Kidnapper. How long do I have to drive for my kidnapping? Raphael snapped. The kidnapper had a mystical sense attached to his persona. He had sharp facial features with a pointed nose and square jaw. There was a little gray here and there, but it only made him look more experienced and fearless. He had the same rare blue eyes as Davinia. It could be a mere coincidence, but it didn't sit well with Raphael. The kidnapper looked no older than his early 40s, but he looked rougher and bolder than his age. The man had cleaned himself. He had an uncanny recovery rate, even for a wolf. He was wearing one of Raphael's shirts now. He'd shifted to the passenger seat some time ago. Raphael was sure that the kidnapper was a wolf, but somehow he could also control the air. Maybe a hybrid?
Little Alpha, stop thinking and drive faster. We have to go as fast as we can, the kidnapper mocked.
Raphael hissed something under his breath without answering him back, but the surrounding air got tighter with that.
What the hell?
Raphael gasped, putting the car to a sudden halt. He was panting for air. What was wrong with this man? He was the one that had called Raphael a little alpha? The kidnapper was so moody that it was irking to Raphael.
It's just a tiny reminder of what I can do to you if you don't listen to me, pretty boy. I don't even need this dagger. I will choke the life out of you before you can blink.
He flashed his perfectly white teeth while playing with the dagger. It was mysterious how the silver didn't affect the kidnapper. First Lucian and now him. A lot of wolves seemed to be unaffected by silver suddenly.
What do you want from me?
Raphael grunted.
Let's reach our destination. Now is not the time for whining.
You'll find out when we get there.
Now drive,
the man rebuked. He put the dagger around his skin and smiled. Raphael hissed as his skin burnt a little. The man was sick. He enjoyed inflicting pain on others. What a psychopath. Raphael wondered if the kidnapper was a lunatic. He was too compelling, more potent than anyone Raphael had ever seen. But what puzzled him the most was the ability that he and Lucian shared. They both could hold silver without it hurting them. So was this man somehow related to Lucian? Either Lucian was a traitor, or he was oblivious to this kidnapper's existence. Raphael felt at a loss. He was no longer sure what to think. His stubborn heart simply wouldn't agree that Lucian could be a traitor. Lucian was far too egotistical for that. But his mind wondered if Lucian was taking revenge for the humiliation he'd undergone after getting defeated in the duel. Raphael exhaled a deep breath and hoped that Lucian was what his heart believed, and not some renegade. Raphael drove until he could no longer do it. His eyes started weighing down. He had tried connecting with Jander or Divinia a few times, but whoever this wolf was, he had the ability to block it. Honestly, Raphael felt fear from the first time, but he was too stubborn to show it. He quietly waited for the first chance to appear when he could escape. The kidnapper at last felt pity for Raphael and allowed him to rest for the rest of the journey. But later he knocked Raphael out for security reasons. He thought it was better if Raphael didn't know the path entirely. He would have passed Raphael out after a little longer anyway. It seemed the midnight wolf was not as strong as everyone imagined it to be. Raphael was still a little boy who had a broken heart over his mate's death. It'd be easy now to mold him. Raphael would make the best sire, the kidnapper smirked. It was nearly dawn when they reached their destination. The kidnapper dumped the car. He picked up Raphael and started walking in the forest. When they were deep enough, the kidnapper placed Raphael on the ground and made him smell some herb. Raphael groaned and sniffed for more. His head felt heavy and his body ached. The surrounding air held him like invisible shackles. He struggled to open his eyes, but when reality dawned on him, he sat with a thump. It bewildered Raphael to see his surroundings. There was nothing except for wild, gigantic trees and creepers. The kidnapper scowled at him, seeing his reaction. Raphael closed his mouth, as he didn't feel like giving this kidnapper any satisfaction.
Anthony, you're finally here.
A lady appeared. She had a big, broad smile, but as soon as her eyes were on Raphael, she quirked and squealed. She rushed towards Raphael and had a closer look.
Is this the pretty boy?
The lady looked at the man, Anthony, Raphael's kidnapper. She was so excited.
It's him. Take him in and get ready. It's almost time.
Anthony didn't share the same excitement, but Raphael could say whoever this lady was a little too important to this man. His kidnapper trolled off somewhere else, leaving him in the lady's company. He wondered about her identity.
Come, we can have a walk over here.
The lady signaled her hands toward an enormous tree. Raphael didn't complain this time and followed. There was nothing much he could do, anyway. It was better if Raphael waited. He could find out more about his kidnappers meanwhile, and when the time would present itself to run, he would use it wisely. When they reached near the trunk of the enormous tree, the lady put her hand on the tree and spoke something in Latin 3 times.
Apurire ostium occultatum. Apurire ostium occultatum. Apurire ostitum occultatum.
An invisible door appeared out of nowhere on the trunk of the tree. The lady opened the door for them and smiled at Raphael. Raphael had this spooky feeling. Why was she being so friendly? He was here against his will. That crazy man had kidnapped him to this god-forsaken place. "Who are you?" Raphael asked as he entered the door. He wasn't expecting an answer, but another riddle.
I am Mantis, a witch, but I can't make you a frog, nor can I do what Anthony could do with the air. I can only make potions out of anything.
Mantis giggled. "What kind of potions?" Raphael probed.
You are a curious one, aren't you? Well, that one that bonds a sire to its host, and the one that makes wolves stronger.
Mantis turned and said with big proud eyes. She was beaming with pride as if it were some kind of miracle. "You mean the beasts and the strong rogues?" Raphael implored. So he was right. This man was behind all this destruction.
You are a smart one, but let's hurry.
Mantis started walking fast. Raphael wanted to ask more questions to find out the motive and how she was creating them, or why he was here, but it was as if Mantis was done answering. She didn't even wince and walked fast in the tunnel, following the small torches placed evenly down the path. When they came out of the tunnel, another large door welcomed them, but this time the door opened with a knob rather than some magical words. What greeted them behind the door was magnificent. It was a large hall, equipped with enough light, and it branched into several rooms. In front of him stood an enormous staircase that went up and down from the current level. How big was this underworld place? Hundreds of wolves crawled inside, but what surprised Raphael was that there were as many humans among them. Why was Anthony creating an army of humans? He swallowed hard and kept following Mantis. What amazed Raphael more than anything else was that there was an elevator in this underground place. How did they even build it? It looked ancient, and yet it accommodated all modern needs. Raphael followed Mantis inside it. She pressed 3 and the lift started going up. When the elevator door opened, it again startled Raphael. Sunlight that passed through the glass roofs lit the place, unlike artificial lights and torches. It was more white, and large paintings hung on the walls. Raphael could tell it was portraits of almost a bunch of people repeated over and over, but they all seemed to have enough resemblance for Raphael to know they were part of the same family. Not everyone had silvery traits, but their features gave away their similarities. The first portrait that welcomed him was Anthony's. He wore medieval clothes and had long hair. The next one was of some lady who looked like Anthony but had silver hair. As he walked past them, he could see another one belonging to Anthony. He looked much like he did in the present. But the next one astonished him. It resembled Ida's portrait that he had seen at Lucian's. Raphael looked for a painting of Lucian, or maybe Elsa, but he couldn't find one. He walked further into the corridor when another portrait took him by surprise. It was an uncanny resemblance to Elsa from the night they had met in that alternate illusion. She had long silver hair and silver eyes that had a soft blue ring around them. Just like Elsa, the woman had a broad forehead and fuller lips. But her face was more rounded, and she was curvier. Elsa had a heart-shaped face, and she was taller and slender. Raphael could tell this woman was more feminine and Elsa was tougher. Probably this woman had not dealt with as many obstacles in her life, while Elsa's life had been only pain and misery. His heart ached for Elsa, but now he knew Elsa was one of them, so he needed to stay and find out about Anthony.
"Why did you not put a blindfold on his eyes?"
A voice groaned from the other corner of the corridor. Mantis cowered in panic.
I'm sorry, Anthony.
Mantis apologized and quickly tore a piece of cloth from her long robe and put it over Raphael's eyes. She cursed under her breath. How could she have overlooked that? Thankfully, Anthony found them before it was too late. He could never see that portrait, otherwise Anthony would have her head. Mantis guided Raphael the remaining distance. Mantis looked at the enormous portrait of Divinia, where she was smiling brightly. There was no way Raphael could see that picture and not know Divinia's secret. She uttered something gibberish and walked past it. When Mantis reached the door on the other side of the corridor, she apologized to Anthony again, but Anthony shrugged her.
"I will take it from here, Mantis."
Anthony didn't even wait for her to answer. He pulled Raphael inside and closed the door.
"Can I take it off now?"
Raphael asked.
"Yes,"
Anthony replied calmly. When Raphael took off the blindfold, he could see that the man was cleaning up and wore decent clothes. He was sitting before Raphael on this big chair. It was a big office room with a roof made of concrete. Anthony had decorated it beautifully. It was obviously above the ground as it had glass windows. It was a breathtaking sight from here.
"It's up,"
Raphael mocked. He couldn't understand why an underground base had an exception like this.
"Yes, I wanted some light. My recent changes," Anthony laughed. "Why am I here?"
Raphael asked in a grave voice.
"You're too nosy. You're here slightly earlier than I would have loved, so why don't you enjoy the place?"
Anthony smirked.
"Why do you think I won't run away?"
Raphael raised his eyebrows. Why was this man so confident?
"No one can escape this place, pretty boy. It is a fortress, and the very air you inhale is my slave,"
Anthony smirked. Raphael jeered but didn't reply. Of course this whole place was a prison.
"You are an impatient one. If it satisfies your nerve a little, I am looking for someone, and I believe I have found her. It would take me a while before I could have her. I need that city of yours, so I will take it first. But then I can have her like my queen, and you as my loyal dog. You, my dog, will help me to get her as my sire."
Anthony revealed his evil plan that sounded like it was set in stone, just waiting to happen. But only if he knew Raphael was born to rule. Raphael did not feel the need to break his brief illusion. He would find a way and break out of this place. But that's when Anthony projected an image on the wall. It was that of Elsa. It took every muscle in his body to control his fury. This man might not know his relation to Elsa, and he would prefer it that way. Jero was having a hard time not resurfacing to fight back for his love. But Raphael knew he should not fight this man alone. He was too powerful and would choke the air out of him in a snap. He needed to be alive to save Elsa.
"Do you know her?"
Anthony could see that there were some hesitations and changes in his body language.
"No, but I guess it's her you want me to help you find," Raphael scoffed. "You are smart. Maybe. But for that, we can make you ready." Anthony grinned. He looked every bit of the devil he was. "What makes you think I would agree?" Raphael scorned. "Because you don't have a choice." Anthony burst out into a peal of sinister laughter that sent a chill down Raphael's nerves. Raphael kept looking, unsure of how to break free. Elsa needed him, and this time he would be there. Who was Anthony? What is this place? How is Elsa connected to all of them and Lucian? Did Elsa have powers like him? Was that how they linked? And why did this man want to make Elsa his queen? Elsa was his, and no, not a toy. How does he fit into all of this? The kidnapper had already found out where Elsa was. Anthony even wanted the moonlit city. How was Raphael going to protect them from here, from captivity? He needed to break out, and soon. Thousands of other questions flew through his mind as he fell on his knees and gawked. Chapter 34. I Care for You. It's only been a couple of weeks, and things are falling into place here. I am glad how Cynthia fought back under your able leadership. Noah appreciated his brother Neil. Stay here, and take your rightful place, brother. I can see Aluna and Beatrice. Neil cried for his brother to reconsider his decision. Neil, we both know I can't stay here long. We'll be here till Beatrice recovers and understands her powers. Ever since that night, she's just not herself. She won't laugh or talk. She just sits in that corner of her room and cries. So I might have to stay here a little longer and help her accept herself. I can't do that when I'm traveling. The only person she's speaking to are Kira, me, and Maya. I'm glad Maya came along, but Beatrice needs our support, and I hope the Nightwalkers would help her too," Noah said in a hoarse voice. He was pleading with his brother to understand why Neil had already accepted Beatrice. "Brother, Beatrice saved us all. I, for one, never doubted or hated her. She's just as scared right now, and maybe she does need you," Neil assured him. "Thank you," Noah said humbly. Despite being the older brother, he knew he was in Neil's territory. The day he walked out of Nightwalker's pack, that day he had lost all his rights over it. The pack had flourished and grown under the watchful eyes of Neil and Leah, and he would not take that away from them. Noah headed towards Elsa's room. It was again gloomy and dark, despite being daytime. Maya had said that Beatrice felt restless and couldn't stay put in the camp on the night of the battle. She could hear all the cries and despair. Maya tried to explain and calm her nerves, but Beatrice ran towards the war, shifting into her amazing wolf. When Noah entered the solemn room, his heart sank. Elsa had drowned in a sea of melancholy. He'd never seen her as dreary as she was now. It was as if she'd lost all hope. She wanted to shut herself in this room for an eternity so that she could avoid reality. She'd barely spoken to anyone and was eating only to survive. Thank God she didn't think of harming her physical body.
Why are you punishing yourself, Elsa? No one is blaming you for anything.
Noah broke the silence. He waited for her to get over her dismal state and reach out to him, but the more he gave her space, the deeper Elsa buried herself in a world of gloom.
Noah, not now. I'm tired. I need sleep.
Elsa jerked from her place. She sat in that chair and looked outside the window for hours, searching for God knew what. Tired of what, Elsa? Staring at those meadows or the woods beyond them? Noah scoffed. Elsa was getting clumsier and tougher. She'd created this invisible wall around her. It was getting impossible day by day to penetrate it. She ignored Noah crawling inside her thick blankets, and she pretended to be sleeping. Enough!
If you don't speak to me now, Elsa, I swear I'll do something reckless, Noah yelled. But Elsa didn't flinch. 2 teardrops rolled down her cheeks, but she made no noise. The deafening silence was weighing down on Noah. All of this was exhausting. How could he help someone who didn't want to get helped? Elsa, please. I beg you. Please talk to me, Noah whispered. Noah walked to the edge of Elsa's bed and sat resting on the footboard. He sighed. Noah couldn't understand if there was any way to convince her. He leaned on the bed and sighed. He looked at the ceiling top with despair. Noah tapped his hand on his forehead repeatedly, laughing at his failure. It was a laugh full of agony and anguish. It was a failure's cry. They stayed like that for hours with no words exchanged between them. But this time Noah was determined. He would not leave this room till Elsa broke her stubbornness. It was enough already.
Noah, I think I should leave.
Finally, Elsa mumbled under her covers. Leave? Where? To Raphael? Noah chuckled. Something was better than nothing.
No, I won't put anyone in danger. I don't know where I'll go,
Elsa whispered. Why do you think you're putting everyone in danger? At least let me know why you've decided to abandon us. I deserve that as your alpha, even if I've realized my command doesn't extend to you, Noah recounted. Noah was feeling powerless. He felt helpless, as there was nothing he could do for Elsa. Every day he saw her grief increasing as she doomed herself to an endless sea of remorse. She was vulnerable, but Noah could do nothing to assure her of better days. Elsa gasped and climbed down. She sat beside Noah, resting her head on his shoulder. He'd been her only support for months now. Without him, probably, she would have died in that deplorable day. He'd pulled her out of misery once. Maybe he can help her once again. She let out a deep breath.
I'm afraid I won't be able to control it next time, Noah,
Elsa whispered. What? Noah wondered if her memories were back.
You know what? I remember everything about that night for a while now. It torments me. I'm scared that I'll kill people, even the ones I care about, with that power. No one should be that powerful, Noah. I'm cursed.
Elsa burst out in tears. But you controlled it at the end, and that's all that matters. Noah tried to reassure her, but she was only sobbing again.
You don't understand, Noah. I'm exhausted. It terrifies me to think what I would have done to all of you if Raphael hadn't helped.
Elsa stuttered between her sobs. That confused Noah. What was she talking about? Was Raphael there that day? He didn't seem to remember an unfamiliar person, but it was chaotic. But if he was going there that night, why didn't he come forward? Was he hiding from everyone? What was going on beyond Noah's understanding? But he had to be patient with Elsa. Was he, Raphael, there that night? Noah asked as softly as he could. He did not want to seem like it bothered him, at least. Elsa shook her head in sorrow. It was difficult to understand anything between those sobs. Noah wiped her tears. He gave her some water to drink and tried to calm her down and relax. He asked Elsa again about Raphael when she regained some composure.
No, Raphael was not there. I'm not sure how it happened, but when I was feeling overwhelmed by all those powers, I somehow connected with Raphael. He was full of grief and remorse. His life was so void of happiness that I think he sucked some of my rage and anger. Had it not been for him, I'm not sure if my energy would have gotten diverted and finally cooled. What if next time it doesn't happen? What if next time Raphael is busy and there's something more important to him? I'll destroy everything,
Elsa stammered. She had no faith in herself. It baffled Noah. He took a long minute to process all of this. Noah was sure that Raphael had not completed the marking process with Elsa, and even if Raphael had marked her, there was no bond strong enough to forge such links. As time passed, finding a fated mate has become so rare it's almost non-existent. Moon Goddess had been kind enough to let the werewolves build a connection with a chosen mate at similar levels after the marking process. And the elders came up with the solution of claiming. So what Elsa was telling him made no sense to Noah. He couldn't understand how they could be connected. If Elsa could feel his despair over some illusion, what would happen when they met? Noah had never thought that it would come to this, even if, deep down, he knew Elsa still longed for Raphael. Are you sure it was Raphael and not a dream? Maybe you miss him more than you admit. It pierced Noah's heart to speak that aloud, but he needed to understand this more.
I am sure it was Raphael. I don't know how, but it was him, Noah. Believe me. I tried to connect with him so many times after that, but it's like he's sleeping or elusive now,
Elsa affirmed. Her eyes had a different sparkle when she spoke about Raphael, making Noah's heart ache. But he buried those feelings. Now was not the time to get envious. Do you want to go to him? I will take you. Noah placed 1,000 stones on his heart to offer that. The pain he was feeling now was far heavier than anything he'd felt in a while.
No, I will endanger even Raphael if I do so. Plus, I have left that life pack long back.
Elsa sighed, rekindling some hopes for Noah. He knew he was desperate, but there was nothing he could do about it. His heart had already chosen her. Then fight with us. Use your power to end the evil. Moon Goddess has bestowed you with this power to end this terror. Noah tried to give her a new purpose. It seemed to work when she looked at him, bewildered.
Noah, but what if I can't control these powers? She trusted the wrong girl. It should be you, or even Kira, not me. It's better buried inside me than destroying everything in the process. I said there's no way I can control it without Raphael.
Elsa denied its possibility after a long second. Elsa, the power is yours to carry. Only you can control it. Maybe it was given to you because you channel the powers to forge that link and decrease its effect. Give yourself some credit. Noah tried to put some sense into her desperately. Elsa had not thought about it. It could have been her doing all along. Wasn't it she who broke the link to help her people, even though she woke up only several hours later? What if what Noah said was right? What if the Moon Goddess gave her those powers to fight that evil Anthony? Elsa would neglect her kind because she was too weak to handle her emotions? How cowardly could she be? All this while, Elsa was thinking like that timid, vulnerable Elsa from Red Moon Pack. Why did she forget she was Beatrice, too? Beatrice could not think twice before trying to use her full potential to protect the one she cared for and loved. Moreover, she made a promise to stand by the Opals. Elsa, you know I'm right. Come out of this gloomy room. Let's train and find out more. We'll start with the basics. I'm no great teacher, but how hard can this be? We'll figure out something together. Noah encouraged her to reconsider when he saw her engrossed in her thoughts. Obviously, she was debating something. He needed to supplement his ideas.
What if something else happens when we practice? We can't endanger the lives of the wolves of Cynthia,
Elsa probed after a long time. But Noah was glad she was considering this. Don't worry about that. Cynthia has a vast wood and then the ocean for its borders in the south. We can get deep inside the woods and practice. We'll set up a cabin while Kira can handle the pack. Neil is also there. And the Opals wouldn't mind staying for a while here in Cynthia, Noah affirmed. It was as if he had it all figured out. Elsa smiled. She wasn't sure about this, but it sounded like a good plan. But there was still one thing that troubled her.
What if I do something to you? I can never live with that guilt,
Elsa sighed. Noah kept quiet for a long second. He had no answers. Even though he wasn't worried about his life, Elsa would not agree to put him in danger. But Elsa needed to understand her real potential. The powers must have always been a part of her, and they were only coming out now. So it could be unpredictable and erratic, but he had to take his chance. Elsa, will you tell me something honestly? Noah cupped her cheeks and looked deep into her eyes. Elsa wasn't expecting something like this to happen. She swallowed hard. Was Noah going to kiss her after all of this? It was a bad idea. She had so many unsettled emotions.
What?
Elsa wanted to ask with confidence, but the voice came out hoarse. Do I mean anything to you? I might not be having the powerful connection that you and Raphael share, but do I have a place in your heart and mind? Please think about it and tell me, Noah asked. This question held a lot of significance for Noah.
Yeah,
Elsa blurted, but Noah shook his head and asked her to sit and think about it. Elsa closed her eyes and thought about all the moments that they'd shared. If she yearned for Raphael, she also cared for Noah. Elsa wasn't certain if it was more than care or friendship at that point, with Raphael still in the picture, but there was no other person Elsa would want to be with at that moment in her life. Noah was the only one who accepted her for who she was. Noah never ridiculed her, even when she exploded into a ball of fire and nearly destroyed everything. He was like a stone Elsa could trust with no hesitation. Her heart flooded with a wave of happiness when she thought about Noah, and her mind was at peace. Elsa opened her eyes and smiled to see Noah looking at her patiently. Maybe she wanted to kiss him at that point, but she controlled it. Everything was far too complicated at that moment.
Yes, I care for you. And I am certain, power or no power, I would never harm you,
Elsa smiled. Noah smiled back. He had an irresistible urge to kiss her. He leaned, closing the distance between them. Chapter 35. Training.
Divinia, I have called to inform you we are launching a war on the moonlit city by tomorrow at nightfall. Anyone who does not accept my leadership should not be able to see the next sunrise, Anthony said over the phone.
How can you do this? We did not agree to any of it. I was the one who was supposed to sire Raphael. You promised me I would rule the moonlit city,
Divinia grunted.
And you will when the war is over,
Anthony retorted. Sometimes it was hard to control her.
But,
Divinia groaned. Divinia had not informed her father about what she had found out about Lucian. Now that the fight of several decades was finally towards its end, new things were resurfacing. She was no longer sure if she could stand beside her father as his beta. Also, the secrets of Silverlit were too tempting. If Lucian could possess a dagger that could hurt sires, then there could be more. Also, her resolved feelings for Raphael kept creating hindrance. Divinia knew if Raphael ended as a sire to her father, he would be no better than a pet dog to her father's ambitions. But with her, Raphael could help her win fights. Raphael would be her perfect match in every aspect. Divinia had no wish to rule the entire world like her father, but her father should leave Moonlit City to her and Raphael.
Are you in love with that pretty boy? I know you are weak. You wanted to settle with that Omega mate of yours. Had I not put some sense into you, you would be living the life of a widow. Divinia, never forget that we are not regular wolves. We should not fall in love. We are born to rule. And we can do that only when we have a midnight wolf as a warrior and a pure-blood descendant by our side. Moon Goddess gifted us with elemental powers. It not only makes us bend them to our wishes, but also slow down our aging. Do you know how long I have waited for my chance? Do you know how many children I fathered before finally having a child with promising potential? I endured so much. And you want me to leave them for your infatuation? Wait for your time. I waited for mine. That silver girl is my Luna, and Raphael is my warrior. Don't make it hard for me. You know being my beta is the greatest honor.
Anthony chastised.
You make it look like it was all my fault,
Divinia complained.
No, it was Ida. What she could not give, her lineage will give.
Anthony broke into a burst of sinister laughter.
Don't forget Ida deceived you. What makes you think this girl will be any different?
Divinia chided.
I did not have a daughter like you then, nor did I have my sires. Also, the Midnight Wolf is here. Soon he will be in my control. It is the best chance this life could spare me. Divinia, do not forget our goal. Stay focused. Prepare for the war. It is time to reveal to the Moonlit City your true identity,
Anthony explained. Divinia didn't complain any further. She knew the war was inevitable. She had lived decades seeing Anthony's hunger and search for this day. Raphael was under his grasp, and he knew the location of the Silver Girl. Anthony wouldn't wait to strike. Once everything was over, she could ask her father to release Raphael. But before this fight, she had one more night to spare. She would use it wisely. Tonight, she would confront Lucian. Later that night, Divinia left the borders of the silver-lit city. Its perimeters were more protected than she had imagined. Also, there were no water sources that Divinia could have used to her advantage. She couldn't find any loophole to sneak inside. Divinia sighed, defeated. She had only one night left, and she needed answers. So she called up Lucian instead. It was Lucian who was waiting for Divinia's call. He picked up immediately. He agreed to meet her, but not inside the borders of Silverlit City. Divinia and Lucian returned to the Black Moon pack borders. She took him to one of the cabins in the woods where they could talk more privately.
What is it you want to talk about inside closed doors?
Lucian chuckled. Divinia felt the urge to roll her eyes, but controlled. Lucian was handsome, undoubtedly, but she was not interested in him. Hell, Divinia was unaware of her interest in anyone until lately. Ever since Raphael began ignoring her for this dead girl, she started having this eerie desire to have him beside her.
Lucian, I'm worried about Raphael. It's been over 2 weeks. Raphael's still not back. Please tell me where he is. I promise I won't tell his whereabouts to anyone.
Divinia made puppy-dog eyes. Those innocent eyes of hers had always worked on men, and Divinia knew her strengths. She was beautiful, with a slender toned body and rare blue eyes with silver pigments in them. Years of living had taught her moves that can make a man or wolf go crazy about her. She knew she would have her way with Lucian eventually. Or not. Lucian smirked. Divinia was more manipulative and scheming than he had imagined. She obviously had ulterior motives, but Davinia was waiting for him to feel sorry for her. In any other situation, Lucian might have considered showing her how much she disgusted him, but tonight he was going to use it to find out more about her.
Raphael is your alpha. How would I know? Lucian retorted.
But you are the one he talked to last,
Davinia squealed.
It was Jander, Lucian corrected.
Lucian, a war might fall on us at any moment. We need our alpha,
Davinia grumbled.
Do you know anything about the upcoming war? Did you get any news?
Lucian charged. He was positive she was hiding something.
No, but I saw how you wounded that wolf that day. I know it was silver. If you could wield it, so can other wolves. At least the silver-lit wolves can. It seems like our only chance, Davinia muttered.
You killed the beast, and you're talking about my dagger?
Lucian scoffed.
The beast was already weak by your wound. That's why I could kill it,
Davinia stuttered.
We both know how it affected the beast. He went on to rampage mode after that,
Lucian scorned.
That's not true. I know that dagger is a secret of the Silverlits. Every pack has its secrets to keep, but it's the only way we can fight back. I don't ask what you are or who you are. Please, tell me how you can handle it, Davinia nagged.
Davinia, I am not Raphael. It should rather be me asking you what you are, and how you killed the beast. That dagger is simply a family heirloom.
Lucian pressed the matter. But Davinia scoffed. She was irritated at this point. How difficult was this man? She wondered if he was asexual or too ambitious. She decided not to badger him too much. She couldn't make him suspect her any further. So she had to lie low for just one more day. Her father would attack the moonlit city in less than 24 hours. She could take Lucian as her captive. Hell, she can enter the silverlit territory without worrying about a loophole.
Lucian, let's not divide amongst ourselves. I thought it was a way to defeat those beasts, but if not, I respect that. I'm just too worried about Raphael. He had disappeared into thin air.
Davinia sighed. She tried to look guilty and broken. Lucian knew she was retreating. If he hounded her too much, he would give away that he was suspecting her, so he nodded his head in agreement.
What do you know about the Opals?
Davinia asked, surprising Lucian. Wasn't that the pack name where Raphael intended to find his mate?
Not much more than that they fought the beasts and defeated them. That is the rumor, isn't it?
Lucian retorted, trying to hide his confusion.
Yes,
Davinia smiled, ignoring the topic altogether. Not long after, they left back to their respective packs, but it even bothered Lucian that Raphael had not contacted him or Jander ever since he left that day. Had he waited for a little longer, he could have got more information about the Opals. Their leader Noah and this girl Beatrice were far too famous. They had managed to defeat the beasts again in a fight in Cynthia. That was when an idea struck Lucian. What if he contacted the Opals to help Moonlit City? And if Raphael was there with them, looking for his mate, he could also receive the information. Lucian wasted no more time. He quickly tried to find out the number of their alpha Neil from the Werewolf Council. When he called the Nighthawk's pack of Cynthia, Neil confirmed it was indeed the Opals who had helped win their battle. Lucian felt dejected to know that Raphael never reached them, but there was a small ray of hope when Neil assured him that he would talk to Noah to stand with them in their fight against the beasts. Lucian sighed with hope. He was definite that something terrible had happened with Raphael, but in that case Lucian knew he should not leave the city unprotected. He couldn't simply put his trust in Davinia or others. So if Raphael believed that his mate was a part of the Opals, Lucian would put his faith in them. Once the city was in able hands, He might start his search for Raphael.
You are insane,
Elsa groaned. It worked, didn't it? Noah chuckled.
How could you break into my room in the middle of the night dressed like that?
Elsa fumed, looking at the clothes that gave him such a creepy look. Look at what you did to them. I'm dripping wet. Noah smirked at his victory.
What if it was fire, not water, Noah? For all I know, they could be icicles.
Elsa grumbled, getting out of her bed to go for a run and clear her head. But it wasn't. And I was prepared this time. The costume is tough enough to protect me, and I carried a fire extinguisher. Noah tried to calm her down, but she gave him a death glare and shifted to her humongous wolf and ran deep into the forest. Noah didn't follow her. He knew she could handle herself, and lately she was getting a better hold of her powers. For the first few days they were going in rounds and rounds, and nothing happened. They spent their days mostly learning combat and shooting. She lacked primary education, even though she was tough. But it was that one night when she felt a screeching pain through her. She knew it belonged to Raphael and not to her, but it lasted for a few seconds before it subsided. By the end, her eyes were glowing with a blue ring around them. She had burst through the water system of the cabin. It took them a few days to repair it, but it was the first time her powers emerged after that night. Ever since then, it was easy for her to control the water element. She practiced for long hours by the sea and was getting better at it. Recently, she even created a fire. But it was more of a random thing, and she didn't have any control over it. Maya had come up with a strange theory of her own. She staunchly believed that the day Elsa fell off the cliff, she somehow triggered her powers and it protected her till Noah found her. Elsa, too, was considering if this was possible. She knew it was impossible to survive that fall. Elsa crossed the woods and went to the seaside. The cool breeze calmed her nerves. She laid there in the sand, wondering where Raphael disappeared to. She could feel his emptiness and conviction when he'd asked for her location. She doubted if she was again deceiving herself by trusting this man, but there was part of her that feared that Raphael was in some danger. Elsa also wondered if there was any way she could connect with Raphael or seek more answers. She had no friend, or even a proper acquaintance in the moonlit city with whom she could associate and ask. Elsa had tried to Google them, but there was nothing new that would suggest otherwise. She wondered if she should call him, but then what if he would reject her all over again? Her fear of rejection was getting the better of her other senses. Elsa laid there for a few hours before Noah finally joined her. She'd gotten accustomed to his presence, so she made no sound and kept lying. Sometimes she felt like she was a greedy woman who was using Noah for her selfish reasons. "We have to leave," Noah whispered, breaking the deafening silence.
Where?
Elsa asked. She knew it must be another fight somewhere that needed her presence. "Moonlit City," Noah murmured. He was speaking so quietly that any regular human would have missed it. No one knew how she felt about that place. But Neil had already promised them, and also how could he deny someone who needed help? It startled Elsa. She recoiled and sat up. She wondered if that was the reason she couldn't connect with Raphael. Was he in some kind of danger?
What happened?
Elsa demanded. I don't know. One of the pack's alphas, Lucian, asked for our help. He said the other more powerful alpha was away from the city looking for something. Noah muttered. He wondered if this alpha was Raphael, and the something was Elsa. When he saw her sad expression, he knew it was probably the case. Who's Lucian? Noah probed.
I know nothing more than that Lucian is Silverlit Pax Alpha. I was not socially active at the time,
she answered. Noah nodded his head without replying. He weighed down the pros and cons, wondering if he should go to Moonlit City or not. Noah feared he might lose Elsa forever, but he couldn't live knowing that he let a city get destroyed because of his own selfish reasons.
When do we leave?
Elsa asked. Sunrise, Noah replied as an uncomfortable silence settled between them. Chapter 36. Beast Slayer.
Opals, yet again we gather here before we fight evil. We will keep fighting till the beasts meet their end,
Kira growled. The fellow Opals hooted and hollered. The fighting spirit in the heart of the warriors of the Opals was so high it sometimes baffled Elsa. She felt proud of Noah and what he had built. Noah had worked hard to achieve this, his heart filled with satisfaction to see his pack's dedication. My dear Opals, this time we have a reckoning force alongside us, fighting in our battles. Let's cheer for none other than our own Beatrice! Noah shouted at the top of his voice to encourage the Opals and Elsa. More wolves hooted and hollered. A lot of them were screaming Beatrice's name.
With Beatrice fighting alongside us, there's no way we will lose this battle. Moon Goddess has shown us the path, and we shall see the end of it,
Kira continued. Yes, 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 the wolves growled in unison. My dear Opals, today we start our journey towards the Moonlit City. Alpha Lucian of the Silverlit Pack has reached my brother Neil for help. He promised them that the Opals would be there, and we shall keep that promise. Tell me, are you with me? Noah roared. Yes, some wolves howled. Let's kill some rogues, some others hooted. Kill the beasts, a small section growled. The enthusiastic behavior of the Opals surprised Elsa. She knew a firm determination to help the needy drove the Opals, but this newfound courage was coming from what they'd seen in the last battle in Cynthia. Some believed Elsa was the reincarnation of the Moon Goddess, and others assumed her to be a witch-werewolf hybrid. They were sailing on the sea of her courage and strength. Elsa was unsure if they would feel the same way if they learned how miserable she had been all of her life and how dubious she was about her powers. Elsa was standing behind Kira and Noah, wondering about her life, when a random wolf screamed that she wanted Elsa to address the crowd.
Let's hear Beatrice, the Beast Slayer!
More wolves joined in the cry, and in a few minutes, almost every wolf was chanting the same thing. Beast Slayer! Beast Slayer! Elsa cringed at that. She was no Beast Slayer. Hell, there was such a high chance that Elsa might chicken out the next time. She was on the verge of an anxiety attack when Ayla pulled her from the back of her mind. Ayla gave her some much-needed courage. Ayla fumed and hissed at Elsa for being weak. Ayla pleaded with Elsa to at least believe in herself. That was right. Elemental powers or not, Elsa knew Ayla was powerful, a daredevil. She thanked Ayla and sighed. Her truth was different now. She had to look strong for the Opals, and especially for Noah, who believed in her. Noah gave a questioning look, but when Elsa nodded her head, he left the stage for her.
Hi,
Elsa spoke in a gentle voice. She was nervous. It was the first time she was addressing a crowd where people believed her to be some sort of leader. Well, many regarded her to be some sort of reincarnation. Lots of pressure. Everyone silent! Beatrice is speaking! Some wolf shouted, loud enough for everyone to calm down. A crushing silence befell, making Elsa more nervous.
It was better with you screaming and hooting. This creepy silence is more demanding,
Elsa stuttered, smiling a bit. It earned her a loud cheer and some warm smiles. Werewolves were obnoxious creatures, but Elsa's previous pack pushed her into a life of silence.
Well,
Elsa huffed before continuing on to the next.
I am certainly not what you people wish me to be.
The crowd burst into a faint murmur, but the most surprised one was Noah. He couldn't help but wonder where her speech was going. Are you certain you want to do it now? Noah whispered. Kira noticed the tension between the two. Was Noah keeping a secret from everybody for Beatrice? Noah had been spending a lot of time with Beatrice. She knew Noah and Beatrice were close. Perhaps Beatrice might end up as her new Luna. It irked her that Noah preferred an unknown girl to her, but she couldn't ward off her unwanted feelings for Noah. She was jealous, but loyal.
I guess so. It just puts a lot of pressure on me when I see them putting their trust in me. In return, I'm lying to them for my selfish reasons.
Elsa sighed. The small conversation between Noah and her made more wolves discuss random things between themselves.
Hey, sorry for that,
Elsa addressed them, bringing back the crowd's attention to her.
You people have been nothing but warm to me ever since I met you. And there is nothing nearer to my heart than the love and affection the Opals has showered on me. To you, I was a broken girl who had lost the memories of her previous life.
Elsa took an infinitesimal pause. She was finding it hard to tell the rest. She was scared thinking about how everyone would receive the truth, but she was done lying.
Well, you made me believe as if I was an Opal from birth. I would want that for me. This pack is so warm and kind. It has an alpha who is nothing but fair and just. A beta, like Kira, is smashing the patriarchy in every form. The good you are doing to the werewolves is far beyond anything I've seen.
Elsa praised the Opals, earning a loud cheer from the crowd, but a few of them were more worried about where the speech was going.
And when I say I have seen, trust me, I have seen how mean and bad wolves can get. The system is so deep-rooted that it stops you from even telling a wrong is wrong. It's so crazy that it stops you from raising your voice against people who keep on abusing you, mistreating you. You want some false approvals of the society that treats you only as a dirty burden.
Elsa was sobbing now. The crowd had grown even more silent. The silence was disturbing and heart-wrenching.
What had you gone through, Beatrice?
Kira whispered, but the silence was so deep that it was audible to the wolf's ears.
I'm sorry if I lied to you all that I'd forgotten my past. The truth is, there is nothing to remember about it. It only brings me pain, a whole lot of pain that makes my heart squeeze. It's unbearable when I have to endure those painful recollections where everyone thought I was some untouchable abomination. I had such a lonely childhood that I never had a friend before coming to the Opals.
Elsa broke down into pearls of tears.
Kira was my first friend. She was the first one to ever show some genuine concern for my well-being. She was the first one to tell me I looked beautiful the way I am. Without her, maybe I would still be dyeing my hair amber to prove that I belonged.
Elsa looked at Kira, thanking her genuinely. It hurt Kira a little. All Kira felt for Beatrice was envy for a while, but here Elsa was considering her to be the first friend Elsa had. It was she who distanced herself from Elsa ever since she saw the closeness between Noah and Beatrice in the Pearl Moon pack. Maybe she should have been there for Beatrice a little more.
In Noah, I found my support. He knew my truth and yet accepted me for who I was. He never feared me, nor did he make me feel like I was something repugnant. I can never thank him for his kindness enough.
Elsa was sobbing hard. She was gasping and crying. The werewolves of the Opals felt the weight of her sorrow, and their hearts cried with her.
Beatrice, we are all here for you,
a wolf groaned. It baffled Elsa. There was still no resentment towards her. They still weren't judging her for lying to them all this while.
My name is
Elsa sighed, wiping her tears.
Elsa.
Elsa was expecting judgmental looks, anger, rage, or anything, but she felt overwhelmed when she saw Opals looking at her with empathy. Kira walked to her side, and she embraced Elsa in a tight hug.
We don't care if you're Elsa or Beatrice. What you do defines you,
Kira appeased.
How are you not angry?
Elsa whispered.
Because we are Opals. Everyone in this pack has a troubled past. Some have accepted it and shared it with others. Some are still struggling with their demons. But here, we ensure we give enough love and affection to everyone so that they can come out of their grief and embrace peace. We give them a purpose and motive, and nothing makes me happier than seeing that we as a pack have succeeded in your case, Elsa.
Kira stretched while saying Elsa's name, showing her acceptance towards Elsa. A random wolf called out from the crowd for Elsa, showing his support, and others joined him. And soon the entire pack was chanting her name again, trying to show her their support. It was indeed that the Opals gave a second chance to every wolf at happiness. Elsa's heart felt light. It was like this lifted 1,000 imaginary boulders from her chest. Tears of joy stripped from her eyes as she smiled ear to ear, thanking the Opals and Kira. She glanced at Noah, at Bliss. She was going to be forever indebted to them. Noah was glad to see how the event had turned out. He was beaming with pride for his pack. Noah was euphoric about how there was no more need for him to carry the burden of her secret. It would be easier to find out more about Elsa if he could speak freely of who she was.
There is one more thing I'd like to share,
Elsa muttered. The crowd fell mostly silent, with a few among them whispering a little.
The place where we are going, the moonlit city, is where my previous pack is situated. I know little about the Silvermoon's pack, except that there are a lot of aloof ones who never meddled in anyone's business. So, if their alpha has reached out for help, then the threat is far bigger than we are considering,
Elsa explained. But we have you! We will burn the beasts! Someone screamed. Elsa sighed. How would she explain to them that it was an outburst that day? Elsa had no control over those elements except for water. She could create fire, but it was more of a random thing. So how could she burn those rogues and beasts with something that came at its own will and not at her control? Let's choke the rogues! Another ranted. Elsa gave Noah a worried look. Controlling the surrounding air was the hardest for her to achieve. She had no command over it. Every time she wanted to do something with it, it ended up creating water bubbles or icicles. Opals! This battle is ours. Let's not dump it on Elsa. Let's not forget that she is still learning her powers. So let's support her and not burden her. Raise your hand and howl for us if you're with me, Noah demanded. It did not go well with the wolves, who were waiting for some fire show or rain, but they believed their alpha. Power or no power, they would fight for their alpha, despite their dislike of the new equation. They raised their heads and howled to show their support. Noah walked beside Elsa and intertwined his fingers with hers. He pressed her hand a little to show his support and blinked once reassuringly. It vexed Kira, but she kept aside the negative emotions and held Elsa's other hand with hers. Elsa wasn't expecting anything from Kira, but this small action from Kira boosted her confidence 1,000-fold. Elsa smiled through her apprehensions, finding a new determination. She looked at the crowd in front of her with gratification. With such a pack to support her, Elsa felt invincible.
Moonlit City, here I come,
Elsa thought.